Well, hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Logistics Executive TV. I'm joined today by a colleague of many years in the industry, in the logistics and supply chain industry, Dr. Muddassir from SCMDOJO and the Supply Chain Show.
The Supply Chain Show, exactly. Yeah. I'm a host of that.
Good to see you. Now, you've got a big corporate career, 20 years right throughout the supply chain. But your specialism at this stage is you've got your own consulting business. You've got clients following you online around the world, Europe in particular, and here in the Middle East. Corporate background, just briefly, you were with Eaton for a while.
I worked for Eaton 12 years, right? I worked almost every job from a demand planner to a division supply chain over 12 years.
Practicing supply chain.
I'm practicing. I'm one of the few people or influencers, if you want to call it, who actually worked in supply chain. So I can talk about MRP, batch order quantity, and supply chain strategy at the same time. And then I worked for Bridgestone as a head of planning logistics for the region. So I know the EMEA region pretty well and the supply chain challenges. And we're going to talk about those in terms of education today.
And good to bump into you a couple of weeks ago in Saudi Arabia. That was great.
Yes, and I would say you were the best. You should win an award, the best VJ of supply chain podcast. You were pretty awesome.
Good to have you as a guest speaker. Okay, short and sharp. I want to talk today because I know you've got opinions. You're always happy to give them. We hear a lot about certification. Various companies or various roles require certain certification and accreditations. Talk to me about your view on certification. Good, bad, or ugly?
Mixed bag, right? I'll give you a quick background on why I think it's a bit challenged right now and they're not up to speed. But when I was a division supply chain, I used to, in UK and Europe, even here, we want to hire a lot of people. I mean, hiring in the Middle East is not a big challenge, but in Europe, it's a big challenge to find talent. So generally, we end up developing in-house people, and not everybody do the supply chain degree or certification. So you get somebody from finance or operations or somebody who knows Excel in the warehouse, and you say, okay, come and work in supply chain. So I did a survey on LinkedIn, and it's actually almost 50-50. 50% people who choose some kind of qualification to come in the region, more than 50% they don't. So what companies does is they say, okay, we're going to send you some certification. Okay. Those famous certification, there is 3, let's name them openly. No criticism, which is like Apex or which is ASCM right now. And then SIPS in UK and ISM in USA and CLT is also in that platform. Okay. Then if you go to those, they're first of all, they're very expensive, right? Then I found because if you just the exam and the course learning center is $3,500, right? And if I got 10 people, how am I going to find the money? So it took me in Bridgestone 18 months to get an approval for 6 people because it's too much money. And if I see the content, still pretty old and archaic, right? It's pretty the same thing. If you Google right now, you will find almost all the content, right?
So many things.
And then not agile is not really vocational because if I want to apply the vocational languages. And the third part, which I found very challenging, is they almost promise saying, if you do the certification, we're going to give you 10% pay rise. Who's going to give them a 10% pay rise actually? The person, not the company who invested $3,000-$4,000, right? Which is just actually somebody else, which they're going to hire them because they got the letters of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever the alphabets in front of their title, right? Which people say. So this is the problem I saw as a supply chain leader. I wanted to solve that, right? There has to be a better way of developing people because as a leader, it's one of the biggest strategic goals to develop leaders, right? So now with the advent of COVID or before, the online e-learning was growing, iJuice and Team Treehouse and, Data Camp. In the IT world and in the journal world, so the e-learning is getting adopted pretty fast. So if you're a coder, because there's no supply chain is not even close technical if you want to learn Python or big data or machine learning. They're very technical, right? IT people don't care certification. They just want to know, do you know Python? Can you code? Can you do it? Right? Okay. Where you have learned, I went to Data Camp and I've learned this. Okay. I've done these courses. Great. Show me how it's done. Why we can't do this in supply chain? It's cost effective. You can do from the home. It's agile. You can create the most relevant knowledge pretty fast. You can give them. Most importantly, you can track it. Because believe me or not, I have got the money of doing 10 people. I've spent money learning centers and giving the exam. Out of 10, 2 people passed. Not because they are stupid. First of all, they don't have a time because I'm also a manager giving them pressurizing to do the job, to do it fast, right? Because you need a lot of 100 hours to learn the content and in a very 4 months period of time. And they need teacher. That means extra cost, right?
So let me ask you about what's your advice to organizations that actually do prescribe a certain certification for employing people? We're in executive search. We talked a lot about that. I don't see that much of a requirement these days. For senior executive roles, maybe a degree of some sort in the area, but the specific industry certification, not so much.
In the government bodies right now, if you take KSA or UAE, they subscribe SIPs. Okay, nothing wrong with that. Because the thing is, SIPs around since 1932.
Yep.
Apex is around since 1957. So they have built credit where it's due. They have built market credibility
and a brain,
right? Okay, so what the hiring people say, okay, if somebody has MSIPs or whatever, they know stuff, but which is also not true, because in UK, believe me, people can go and hire somebody to write the exam and submit through some vocational body, and you can get MSIPs. I know MSIPs people know nothing about supply chain, not to mention any names, right? So it's just a degree for the sake of certification, for the sake of certification. So credit based due, they built it, but they couldn't able to maintain the rigor of it. But if you got MSIPs, you really know supply chain, right? Let me
the practical application
of it. So that's first challenge. But the second challenge I see. So to answer your question, yes, it's slowly diluting. But people like me and you, we want to influence people. Is there a better way of learning and development, right? Which is like SCMDOJO and few other like Coursera. I would also say Coursera have got some good courses on supply chain, practical based courses. And you are a recruiter, and I think you can testify that to find a successful supply chain people or professional, it's not just functional knowledge, like your negotiation, demand planning, inventory, right? You have to know this anyway, otherwise you can't work in a function. The difference between a good one and not so good one is two things, which is you have to be very good in soft skills, your leadership, communication, presentation, right? Managing up, managing down, which we have a course at SCMDOJO. And the third and most important right now is the technological part, right? This whole big data, blockchain, cloud computing, now generative AI. It's going to be imperative in your CV, right? If you don't, I think I would say so far, if you're a supply chain data analyst, if you don't know Python, you probably won't get a job in 3 years' time. I'm pretty sure on that. Right. So you almost need to be half coder, half supply chain analyst.
Sure.
Right. People don't like it when I say this, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen.
I was at a conference the other day in Singapore, and was on a panel and discussing, people saying, well, what are qualifications that people need, or what experience do they need? I was saying, about AI. And I said, well, 5 years ago, about 20% of people, 10% of people needed to know about machine learning, about AI and what have you. Now it's at least 50%. More senior roles, medium range roles as well. If you're not knowledgeable in the area of machine learning, then how can you be catching up and keeping up with what's going on in the market?
One quick problem and a solution, right? A lot of supply chain leaders, they actually hire a consultant. Okay, can you tell me what demand planning software I use? I'm thinking, why you don't know yourself, right? Okay, you should know how to create a business case and how to find the right tech. And guess what? None of the certification have this course. You come to SCMDOJO, we got 2 courses to explain how to create business case, second, how to select. So this is where the advantage of e-learning, which a classical certification don't have.
Okay, good stuff. Quick 5 questions before we wrap. If you're an organization and you're looking to recruit a role in supply chain, what approach should you take? What approach should they take? Should they go more for the soft skills, more for the technical skills? Should they even bother with certifications or accreditations?
No.
Elon Musk doesn't care about resumes, doesn't care about anything that people know other than how they can solve a problem.
And that's it. That's it. So if you can solve me a solution to the problem rather than phone up paid CVs with bunch of whatever, is no needed. Of course, a degree or some sort of qualification or online learning, if you mention it, is a testament, right? It gives you a discussion point. As long as you can demonstrate it, which is good. Now that a new graduate will say, "Oh, I haven't worked in supply chain. How can I demo it?" I said, pretty easily. Show the projects, what you have done and what online courses you have taken, and discuss the theory, which I tell me you are a good learner, right? Okay. And I think this is where it goes. But most importantly, I would say following. there's a famous thing which says you hire for attitude, not for the skill, right? As a line manager, you just hire that this person, and you've been manager yourself. Most people I've hired is because of the skill, their face fits to the culture, to the organization, right?
Yeah.
And I know if the person is a good learner, I can teach them anything, right? And therefore, we have learned our SCMDOJO for business, where we can give a manager authority to assign the courses and put a development plan.
Okay.
And all clever people wants to have a development plan.
Sure.
Right, which a lot of managers miss.
Okay, good stuff. And to wrap up, if we're talking about, audience for senior or people on their career, on their way up in their career in supply chain, always ask our guests to give us one tip for what people should be thinking about. And if we're talking here, skills development and accreditations and applicability for a role, what would be one tip that you would like to give our audience to think about before they go into an interview? What's the sort of methodology they should be thinking? 5
years ago, if I would give this answer, I would say two things, which is a classical answer. Be technically competent, know your stuff, right, in terms of the supply chain competencies, and be good in soft skills. Communication, presentation, all the cultural fit and all that. But there is a third pillar right now, which is imperative, which is understanding technology, what's happening, and not just the buzzword, right? Just don't throw me a blockchain and don't throw me a cloud. What I need to know is what each application have a specific use case in a specific part of supply chain. Right. So if you want to talk about traceability and tracking, then you can play with two technologies, IoT, blockchain, right? If you're talking about visibility, then don't throw me a blockchain. It doesn't do anything. Talk about cloud, for example, and how you're going to use it.
Demonstrate, understand.
Talking about automation, then you have to say, okay, RPA, robotic process automation. Explain me how it works, right? So these use cases, don't throw the buzzwords. Tell me how you've used it.
Sure.
And that will. It will be imperative going forward.
Okay. Well, I think that's a pretty good tip. There's a lot of people out there looking for roles at the moment. There's all sorts of cycles going on in different parts of the supply chain. I know you have social, you're fairly strong on social, and you have events. And I know you're always willing to give advice. So I congratulate you on that as being as a major player in the community.
Thank you.
Not only here, but in Europe as well, as I see. So without further ado, really just want to thank you, Dr. Muddassir.
Thank you very much.
SCMDOJO and Supply Chain Talk.
Sure, the
Supply Chain Show.
That belongs to somebody else.
Looking forward to staying in touch, and thanks so much for joining us here on Logistics Executive TV.
My pleasure, and wish you all the best. We stay in touch. Thanks you so much. Thank you.
Thanks.